Whee doggy. Oh, let's do that correctly. Whee doggy, as Uncle Jed would say. All right. Down on the Farm, Part 2. No one knew enough about the mechanics of producing and using methane to say so conversation drifted to other topics, and the family reached the end of their meal. They were just starting in on their cake when the dogs became noisy again. Melinda got up to go see what they were barking at and came back to the table and said, "Daddy, it's Dr. Luke at the gate. He's got a cow with him." This caused raised eyebrows around the table, except for Anna and Lisa, who adopted poker faces. Mel's father said, "Well, how about that? Reckon I'd better go and see if Luke has taken up rustling as a sideline." He stood and walked out the front door. The rest of the family followed shortly afterwards. Outside, Luke was just closing the gate behind him, a Jersey cow on a long lead standing nearby. With a grin, John asked, "Luke, you find that thing wandering the roads, or did you liberate it from somewhere?" The doctor laughed and said, "Oh, I swapped it for some magic beans." Melinda looked closely at the creature and said, "That looks like Mrs. Ellie's cow." Her father looked at the cow more closely and said, "Be damned, that is Ellie's cow, isn't it? Why are you bringing it here?" With a grin, Luke said, "Thereby hangs a tale. Hearken, O king, and I will enlighten thee to the tale of the doctor and the cow." The girls giggled at this, and he continued, "As a matter of certain fact, this is not Ellie's cow. It is, in fact, my cow." He then handed the lead rope to John, who looked at him questioningly. "Now, O king, she is your cow." That's pretty good. John looked at the lead rope in his hand and asked, "Luke, how did you come by Ellie's cow? She didn't give it to you to pay for her arthritis medicine, did she?" Luke replied, "No. The exchange has nothing to do with her medicine nor my services, but it does have much to do with her arthritis. You see, Ellie came to the Archer Clinic last week to see about getting a better medicine for her arthritis, which has been worsening these last few months. As a part of the encounter, she allowed to Lisa as to how she was going to have to give up milking because it aggravated her condition. Lisa told this to me and we worked out a deal. I just concluded it a little while ago, and here she is." The new owner stroked the neck of the cow and said, "Luke, this is a huge gift. A good milk cow was worth hundreds of dollars before the impact. I can't imagine what one would be worth now. This is too much. I can't accept her." The doctor shook his head. "No, on the contrary, it's not really enough. John, you did my family a real service by bringing them out here in the midst of a disaster. You gave them shelter, food, and safety at a time that I was hard-pressed to do so. Hell, the fact of the matter is that I was providing them shelter, but the food and safety part were really becoming very dicey. So as far as I'm concerned, I owe you a herd of cows, but just now, one is all I can manage. Take her. Ellie was glad that she's going to a good home and sends her blessings." John looked at his wife and cut his eyes at Lisa and then back to Anne. "You knew, didn't you?" She laughed. "Yes, John, I did. And I told them you'd be a hard sell, too. You never could accept a gift gracefully. Age seems to be mellowing you." The three girls walked up and began to stroke the cow's flanks. He grinned and said, "Okay, Luke, we accept her." He doffed his hat and bowed to the doctor. "Thank you, most generous Lord, for your magnanimous contribution to the Horn Farm and Kingdom." So, come on. Melinda grinned and asked, "Are we really going to keep her, Daddy? Cool. Our own dairy cow?" Her father grinned back. "Well, small hands, maybe in a week. You might not think she's so cool." A puzzled look crossed Melinda's face. "Small hands? Why wouldn't I think she's cool?" His grin grew wider. "Because you are the one who's going to milk her. You, Brittany, and Heather, that is. I'll leave it to the three of you to work out your own schedule, providing she's milked twice a day. Every day. At the same 2 times a day. Comprende?" Mel's face grew wide again. "But why us? You and Grandpa usually handle the larger stock." "Because milking the cow is traditionally a job given to children, especially girls. Oh, it's where the term milkmaids comes from." John began to sing. "On the 3rd day of Christmas, the doctor gave to me 3 maids a milking, 2 wives conspiring. and a milk cow to make a dairy. When Linda clapped her hands to her ears, okay, okay, Daddy, I'll milk the cow, just stop singing. And she started giggling. Heather's face showed concern and Brittany looked uncertain. Milk a cow, Uncle John? I don't know, the older girl hesitated. Her mother arched an eyebrow. Well, I do know. I'm sure Mrs. Ellie would be glad to teach you three how to milk. She'd probably be tickled, in fact. I milked when I was a girl in Ohio. She grinned, then continued. It builds character, my father used to tell me, especially when it was below freezing and blowing snow. Heather said, but Mom, that was years and years ago. Her mother replied, so it was. All the way back in the 60s, as a matter of fact. Grandpa's a doctor too, remember? Never did understand why he wanted to keep all of those animals when we could simply have bought what we needed at the grocery store like everyone else. Now I'm beginning to understand what he was getting at. Store-bought milk never has tasted quite right to me since I left home. It'll do you good, girl. Heather's father chuckled. Your mother wouldn't take me seriously when I was trying to get her to go steady with me until I agreed to learn how to milk cows myself. My folks thought I'd gone out of my mind, but I did it. Your grandfather said that anyone who would accept getting swatted with a manure-soaked tail for the regard of a girl had to be in love. Heather and Brittany still looked uncertain, but raised no further protest and soon were stroking the cow's head. John rubbed the back of his neck. Well, we'll for sure have plenty of feedstock material for our own methane generator now. Holy cow! Luke, I just realized a serious problem here. We don't have enough feed or hay to keep a dairy cow through the winter. Luke held up his hand in a calming motion. Not to worry, we've got that covered too. Actually, it was your good wife who enlightened us to that problem when Lisa first brought her into the conspiracy. Not only did I buy the cow, I bought the hay and feed that Ed had planned to feed her. You'll just need to work out with him how to best bring it over. He'd planned out her feed requirements when he sold his cattle to the Recovery Command and kept it back. He says if your winter grazing makes okay, you should be able to save a fair amount of the hay. The temperature was steadily dropping, so John began to lead the cow to the barn and the group followed. Luke, he asked, just out of curiosity, if you don't mind my asking, what did she cost you? With inflation eating up paper dollars by the day, she must have cost you a real bag of money. Actually, he replied, I didn't buy her for paper dollars. My investment advisor is or was a real nut for diversification. Saved me a small fortune in the dot-com bust, actually. One of the things he convinced me to buy is gold. Not stocks or futures, but the real thing. Truthfully, I was never much of a gold bug, but he did put me into a small quantity of coins. I bought $20 double eagle gold pieces. Ellie drives a hard bargain, but we both made out okay. In a manner of speaking, you could say I bought the cow, equipment, feed, and hay for $80. Damn cheap considering what you've done for my wife and daughter. John tied the cow into a stall, filled her hay rack and water bucket. He looked at her udder and asked, did Ellie say when she usually milks? Her bag is looking full. By the way, what is her name? I don't recall ever hearing her say. Luke said 7 and 7, but she said you can adjust the time to suit you if you do it slowly. She's giving 3 gallons a day just now. She was freshened 4 months ago, so she reckons you should get at least another year before she needs to be bred again. When she does need to be serviced, you can take her down and let one of Ed's Hereford or Angus bulls do the deed. Come to think of it, I didn't ask Ellie what the cow's name is. Didn't occur to me, but I'm sure it's on her papers. Ellie gave them to me. Her name's Dandelion, Melinda said. Mrs. Ellie told me once that all her milk cows are named Dandelion. Daddy, can we make homemade ice cream? Her father grinned and said, sure, as many times as you kids want to crank the churn. And whipped cream and hot chocolate and just about anything else you can make out of dairy products. Probably end up feeding a large part of it to the hogs and chickens. Damn good feed, as a matter of fact. Well, as a part of the deal, I did promise Ellie that you'd keep them in milk, but that probably won't be more than a gallon or two a week at the most. I'm sure you'll be able to get by on the 19 or 20 gallons a week this will give you. 20 gallons a week, Brittany exclaimed. How much milk can we drink? Anne chuckled and said, we're about to find out. Lisa glanced at her watch. 7 and 7, you said. Well, it's a little past 7 now. We'd better rustle up a bucket of warm water and a cloth to wash her bag and another clean bucket to milk into. She reached out and took Luke by the hand and said, you look like you could use the practice. Think you can still remember how? Luke looked mildly alarmed at the prospect. But Lisa, I haven't milked since you moved out of your parents' place. I'm a surgeon now. She grinned at him and said, good. It's that delicate touch that works so well. All right, good night.